Hi, welcome to day 4. These are our notes on proving triangles are congruent, and this is page 16. So I have to really say at the beginning of this video that many students dread the idea of proofs because they have to give a reason for why everything is happening, and because it's very difficult sometimes to come up with the statements. So what I've done for our proofs is I've tried to take some of that pressure off of you by giving you two things. The first thing I've given you is a word bank. And this is a word bank for all of the reasons. So I'm going to put here in parentheses for the reasons. Now, it's not going to be a word bank for the statements because the statements will all be a little bit different based on what kind of triangle situation you have. But at least that part gives you some things to choose from. The second thing that I've done is I have provided proofs that are already part of the way filled in. So if you look at page 16, you look at page 17, and then you skip over to page 19, you see that the only thing really missing are the reasons. Now, these here at the bottom of page 20 are the kind where they're all scrambled up. We'll do those together in class. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do on page 16, I'm going to do a couple of proofs. Then I'm going to jump to page 18 and I'm going to fill this part in and do a couple more proofs. So I'm definitely not going to do all the proofs because we're going to be working on these in class. Okay, so on page 16, in proof number 1, you have a triangle where you have angle B is congruent to angle R, and they have marked those with one arc mark. You have angle A is congruent to S, and angle S, and they have marked those with two arcs. And then you have AC is congruent to ST, and they have marked those sides with a tick mark. Now, this part about them being given, what does that mean? Well, that simply means that is the information that the problem is giving you as the student to solve the problem. So that is the given information. This proof statement here is telling you what they would like you to prove. Now, notice the proof statement shows up down here at the bottom. Let me get a little pointer here. See, here's the proof statement. It's the same as right here. And here are the givens. It's the same as right here. So in this particular proof, in the first few proofs, these are very, very, very short. The first reason when you see the given information is given. And if you don't want to write the word given in there, you can come up here and pick letter A. I'll put A here. So the reason that we can say angle B is congruent to angle R, angle A is congruent to angle S, and AC is congruent to ST, that is because the information was given to us. So now in the second step, which is actually the final step, they're asking us to tell them why triangle ABC is congruent to triangle SRT. When you see triangle congruent to another triangle, it will always be one of these 5 things. Always. But it has to be a triangle congruent statement. Triangle congruent to another triangle. So what you're going to do is remind yourself what those 5 things are. Do we have SSS? Do we have SAS, ASA, AAS, or HL? So let's take a look together, see if we can figure this out. We have an angle. We have nothing here. We have an angle. So that's A, and then we have an S. So we have an A, we have an A, and we have an S. That's letter F. I like to write them in, but if you just want to put letter F and reference the word bank, you certainly can. Okay, let's try one more. Problem 2 says angle C congruent to angle T. That's right here. Angle A congruent to angle S. That's right here. AC congruent to ST. That's right here. So our first reason is the given information. A, given. Now the second statement, which is also our last statement, says that the triangles are congruent. But why? They want a reason why. Well, we have to pick one of these 5 things. So is it SSS? Which one is it? So if we take a look at the pattern, we have an angle, and then a side, and then an angle, and we have an angle, and then a side, and then an angle. So I think we have letter E here. Angle, oops, let me grab a pen, sorry. Angle, side, angle, or letter E. So that's kind of how these work. And we're going to continue to do some of these in class together as a group. But the second thing that I wanted to show you is on page 18. After we prove that the triangles are congruent, we can use an acronym. And I don't know if you are happy with that word acronym, but that's where all of the letters stand for something. So our acronym that we're going to use is CPCTC. So look at all the C's in here. I'm sure you know what C stands for. So what it means is congruent parts of, notice they don't use an O, congruent triangles are congruent. That's a lot of congruence floating around there. But what this basically means is that once you've used a shortcut to prove that the triangles are congruent, then all of the remaining corresponding parts are congruent. And actually, I messed up here. I have one too many congruents. This should be corresponding. I'm so sorry if you're writing in pen. Corresponding parts. There we go. Of congruent triangles. So those are our congruent buddies. So again, if we know that the triangles are already congruent, we can say that all the parts are congruent. Now, the one big important thing is that, let me just write this, all of the corresponding partners or pairs are equal. Now that only comes after we've proven the triangles are congruent. So let me show you what one of those looks like. And I don't want to do this really hard one on the video, but I want to show you, actually I can, it's fine, we can do that one. Let me show you this very strange proof. Hopefully you can see here in the picture, this is problem 13, that your triangles are overlapping. Let me label C, B, D. Okay, and I prefer to draw them out separately because it's easier to see. So they say A is congruent to C, and they say that angle ABD, let's find that angle ABD is congruent to angle CDB. So we'll give them some arc marks. Now, the one thing that is missing here that we haven't marked is the fact that these two triangles share a side. And it's not exactly like a townhouse sort of scenario. It's because these triangles overlap. So we can mark these also congruent. So now let's fill in the blanks. We have given. Now in step 2, it says that BD is congruent to DB. Well, that's the same size. So that is because of the reflexive property. If something is the same as itself, it's like looking in the mirror. So that's reflexive. That's letter H. All right. So now step 3, we have triangles are congruent. So remember, we're going to want one of these 5 things. And what do we have? Let's take a look. We have A, S, S. And that's letter F again. But now they want us to prove that something else is congruent. They want us to prove that these 2 angles are congruent. Well, that's where the CPCTC comes from. Because the triangles are already congruent from step 3, all of the corresponding partners are going to be congruent. So that's how CPCTC works. But notice how it always comes at the end. And that prove statement, see how that is at the end. But we had to prove step 3 before we could prove step 4. And we will definitely talk some more about that in class. Thank you for watching.